Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Partnership Guys podcast. This is season 2, episode 16. You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, watch us on YouTube, or go to www.thepartnershipguys.com. Find us online, website, all information. Reach out, social media. Thanks so much, everybody, for listening. Excited today to talk to you. Today's topic is reconciling different work styles, and different work styles come with different speeds, different energy levels. And the key point is that partnerships.
Yeah, I mean, different does not mean wrong, right? We're all different. It's every entrepreneur, every person, every employee has a natural operating style. So, like you said earlier, some move fast, others are big process guys. And I am probably, even though I handle a lot of process, I think very fast. That doesn't jive with a lot of people. However, what happens is when you try to kind of work the way your partner works, it's unnatural and it is detrimental pretty much to output. That's been our experience. So it's super important to embrace the visionaries and embrace the implementers. They're two totally different personalities. They're both needed to be in a successful partnership. If you had two people that were running the same direction, saying the same things, working the same exact way, that could actually cause a lot of problems for you. The blind spots just really start popping up. And so that's why we really do think that differences often create a strength, not necessarily a weakness.
And when Todd and I first partnered up, we couldn't have been different personality-wise. I'm a much more calm, analytical type person. Don't look at me like that. Todd,
You're saying I'm not analytical?
I'm saying I'm more.
You're saying I'm not calm?
And there you go, right back to day one. But we learned early on that actually was a benefit in the partnership, is that, the fact that we thought differently gave us more viewpoints, gave us more things to think about. It wasn't something that got in the way. We had to learn how to communicate with each other over time, and we can talk about how we did that in a minute. But we definitely use those differences as a strength in the partnership to build the business rather than looking at it as something that could cause problems. Again, took some time to figure it out and communicate with each other well. But to add value to a partnership, I don't need or want my partner to think like me. I want them to think differently.
So actually, tying that into when we first became partners, it didn't take very long for us to realize who you best speak to and who I best speak to. And, because initially, I was speaking to everybody, right? Until we started to break, out our decision domains. And so I was speaking to everybody. I would struggle with the engineers, I wouldn't connect as well with the engineers as I would with the shop guys. And I would say, it was really once we decided to do our decisions domain, we were able to see my gap, Stephen can fill that with, his expertise and his style and his communication style to connect with those people. I always typically got the shop guys. Stephen always typically got the engineers, the corporate guys, because he speaks better than them, and they appreciate how he communicates more than they do me. However, the shop guys, they want to BS with me. I'm good all day. Let's do it. We can really make some magic happen there. Because again, your partner doesn't need to think like you to add value. If anything, I think it's the exact opposite. Because different is not wrong. Different is different, and sometimes you need something different. And that's where I think really having a different type of partner who works a little differently, maybe communicates differently is key to a successful and healthy partnership.
Rob, I bet you and your partner in the solar business definitely looked at each other through their own lens, through your own lens, right? So I don't know what happened to Rob there. You lost him. But it's important not to, and you and I have done this over the years, is learned how to not judge each other from how we see it, but to try to learn and understand how you see things.
Know your audience. I say that all the time. Know your audience. How is it being perceived by those others? Not how do you go to it with your preconceived, biases.
Yeah. Just because I sometimes move a little bit slower, try to get as much information as I can, doesn't mean that I'm not adding value to the process. And, if you want to move faster, or I want to move faster, it's really about just understanding how we communicate, understanding what our process is so that we can learn to appreciate what each partner brings to the table.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a firm believer in that, somebody needs to be the gas pedal and somebody needs to be the brake pedal, period. Otherwise, you're either not doing anything or you're driving at 150 miles an hour towards a brick wall. So it's really important to have that duality there for sure.
Yeah. I mean, just realizing and learning that, we bring different things to the table helps us actually accelerate in a safe way. So we're not going towards a brick wall. It
Absolutely.
helps us to accelerate what we're trying to accomplish in any given task, in the business in general, whatever it is. And, that support from each other actually helps to that strengthens the partnership, but also strengthens the business and whatever else we're trying to do. There's Rob.
Did I miss anything?
You missed the whole thing.
All right, good. You guys do good?
No, we were just talking when you got disconnected there, where I was just saying that, talking about your partnership in the solar businesses, it sounds like you guys were definitely looking at each other through your own lens instead of trying to appreciate what the other person could bring to the table.
Absolutely. And not only that, but we just handle things completely differently, and we didn't appreciate and respect that. We only combated with our differences, and the more we didn't like the way that each other handled things, operated, the more it just went downhill, and every decision went downhill. And we didn't appreciate each other's strengths, and we didn't appreciate each other's differences. We only wanted to argue about it, and the more that he wanted to argue with me, certainly the more I wanted to argue with him, and it was just a bad combination. And we got to a point where, because we were so different and handled things so differently, that we almost rooted against each other, because it gave us a chance to say, hey, you were wrong about that. The way you handled it was wrong, and the way I would have handled it was the right way to go. And just a horrendous, path to go down for a partnership. And in so many of the other great partnerships I've had on my trading floor, I was out on the trading floor, like you said, Todd. I was out on the trading floor training traders, and I was out there, people person, talking to people. But then some of the high up level meetings, it wasn't really my thing, and other people would take care of that. I was more out with the people and our traders, and lifting them up and lifting up their spirits, and talking them through certain things, and allowed other great partners that I had to kind of handle a lot of the other communications on a lot of different levels.
That's
You are
building
indeed a
around
man of the
strength, right?
you are indeed the man of the people, Rob. Indeed the man of the people.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I was saying that's building around strengths, right? It's not necessarily about what you prefer to do, although oftentimes you prefer to do the things you're best at, but you want to build a partnership around each other's strengths, not just your preferences. Learn to operate where people perform best, and don't force somebody into a role or into a position or to do something that they're not going to be good at, that doesn't meet their kind of personality type.
It's funny because the thing that frustrates you about your partner may be the thing that actually protects your business. So it's super important to understand that what might look like a weakness from one angle often looks like a strength from another. And it's just being cognitive of that, I think, is really.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about decision domains in the past. When the three of us sat down and worked on our decision domains for this business, we realized that, it wasn't, for example, just one person wasn't going to be responsible for all the marketing, but there was different aspects of marketing that fit one personality versus another. And so, we got really granular with, assigning those decision domains, because, one of us was stronger or had a better personality for one aspect of it, and the other a different aspect. And so, don't get stuck in big picture stuff. You can really drill down with some of this stuff.
How would you, especially early on with you guys, how would you, if there was something that you saw the other one handling that was just not your way of doing things, how would you not only accept it, how would you go out of your way, which I know you did, to support it? And not it's not easy to do when you have a certain opinion, and we all have certain opinions, that it was the way that we think things should be handled. And for you two, how did you get through it when there were things that you saw that you would have done very differently, but again, just supporting your partner and allowing your partner to do it their way?
I would say initially it was very bumpy. It just was. I mean, we were both much younger. We both running our lives and our businesses our way, and I didn't think we necessarily had the maturity at the time to think this through. So when we kept bumping kind of heads, we decided, and Stephen talks about it all the time, to his credit, because he brought this to us, is instead of coming with criticism, come with curiosity, right? Stephen has experiences I don't have. So it might be those experiences that are shaping his response or his actions, whereas because I come from my own experiences, right? And those gave me this bias that would require me to answer or do something a certain way. So it was really about, once we realized that we were having issues and needed to kind of work through some of these types of things, we were very open and talked about it. Like, all right, man, like, are we going to make this work or not? And we made an agreement to come at it with curiosity and acceptance of feedback. So it's not just like, show me what you're doing. All right, well, I see what you're doing. Have you thought about this, or have you seen this, or I experienced this? And that's really what helped us get super tight over the years.
And one of the other things that we did pretty early on was we did some personality profiling, which gave us explained ways that we want to communicate and ways that we want to be communicated with. And so when you come to your partner with concerns or questions or ideas or whatever, you want to try to come to them with a communication style that they can appreciate. And what that does is it keeps the temperature down. It doesn't allow them to get frustrated. For me, I prefer just, give me the facts, let's work through it and make a decision. Some people are just like to, have the gift of gab, and they just like to talk. And that drives me crazy sometimes. Like, can you please get to the point? So if somebody's coming to me, if a partner's coming to me with some concerns about something that I'm doing, and they, think they need to warm me up by talking about the weather and what they did over the weekend, no, just give me the facts, man. That's all I want to hear. Other people, I've got to learn how to go and talk to them and have a conversation before we have the conversation, if you know what I mean, because that's the way that they like to be communicated with. And they want to kind of work their way into the conversation. And so, learning that about each other and literally putting it up on the door, so that when I walked into Todd's office, I saw what his communication style was. And so it would remind me that this is the way that I need to communicate with him. And so that was really helpful in building that trust and respect, which allowed us to really be able to deal with some of the stuff that you were asking about.
Yeah, for me, in the one bad partnership that, it was a solar panel business, and we would walk into people's houses, and most of them were people, again, I was, coaching, involved in our community and neighbors, and we would walk in, and my neighbor was very fixated on talking about the engineering aspects of the system, and he didn't like it when he would talk about that stuff. And I would see in a lot of cases that people weren't listening. People were getting lost by what he was saying. People were almost starting to lose trust in us because he wasn't feeling it in that way. And so I would take it back to making jokes and, making it light and talking about something else. And that really frustrated him. And we would leave the house and he would say, hey, I was talking about something really important there, and you kind of, changed the subject and talked about something else. And he didn't feel the room. And not to mention that it was kind of people that I was bringing to the table, and I had the relationships. And he started to get really frustrated by the fact that I wasn't talking the way he was. So he would give me key points of engineering points that I would need to make, and that he wanted me to make. And, in the end, then that turned into me flipping it to, well, you just have to feel the room. You have no feel of the room. You have no feel of how to talk to people, what people are looking for, what makes them tick, what they're, what's going to make us do business with them in a successful way. And so we were just never on the same page and never aligned with our differences. He just wanted to me to talk the way that he was talking, and he wanted to teach me how I should be talking. And to me, it was like, dude, you're losing everybody that you talk to. Nobody wants to hear all that.
And there's
And it
value in,
just,
having both styles accessible in the partnership, right? The differences build strength, but if you don't lean into that, it can really cause problems in the partnership, which can cause problems in the business.
I mean, seriously, great partnerships really do maximize the differences instead of trying to eliminate them, because you really don't want to. You want to force anybody to become you, especially your partner. It's so counterproductive, and a lot of that falls into ego, which we talk about all the time, and how that could really damage you.
which is why for certain people it works better that they work by themselves. That it's just, I want to do things my way. That's the only way. And you have to have an open-mindedness to, not wanting your partner to be just like you or think just like you. It's what's the point of that? It's, if you have somebody next to you that's just agreeing with everything you say or doing things the exact same way, or if I was, talking engineering, in those solar cases, the way that he was talking, what would be the point? We're saying the same thing, the two of us. On paper, we were bringing very different elements to the table that both, could have been productive, and it could have been a great partnership. It could have been, if somebody asked an engineering question, that was him. If, the room needed to be lightened up a little bit or whatever it is, that was me. And relationships that I brought to the table, you just know appreciation for the differences we have. And that's why for the two of you, it's so clear that your great partnership is not built on how similar you are. It's built on having complementary strengths, and that's why I admire your partnership so much. So, yep. So the part that I was here for, it was another great conversation, guys. Really appreciate everybody listening. Again, you can listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, watch us on YouTube, go to our website, www.thepartnershipguys.com. You can find us on LinkedIn, Facebook, watch all our videos, and like us, reach out. And we really like talking about the subject, and we really like helping people and talking through a lot of difficult partnership conversations. We're starting to get out there and do the speaking tour. We're really proud to be talking about such a great subject. Partnerships get such a bad rap, but they can be so wonderful and so beautiful and so life fulfilling. And just like we always talk about, just push your business and your partnership and your life to levels that you never thought possible. So I appreciate you guys. Appreciate you.
I was gonna say, Rob, one more thing. Head to our website, thepartnershipguys.com, and check out the partnership pathways model that we have there, because we are here to help build a new partnership, fix an existing partnership, exit a partner out of a partnership, or just end the partnership without people strangling each other. We do a lot of that. So please
all in a
reach out to us.
fulfilling and meaningful way, by the way.
Yeah, to get you to the win. We want to do it so you get to the win, right? How do you end this thing and still feel like you're winning? How do you exit this thing and feel like you're winning? You know what I mean? And it's I think it's a great model we put together. We've helped a lot of people, and I really do want people to know that we're here to help on any stage of your partnership.
Difficult conversations, but once we have them with people, and we can kind of get down to what people are looking for and what's going to make them a happy person, get to that win. There's a lot of different ways that we're getting people on both sides of the partnership to a win, whether it's one staying, one exiting, both exiting. So many different options. It's just, we're throwing everything on the table and having those difficult conversations. So it's been great. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Thanks everybody for tuning in again, and we will see you next week. Take care.
Thanks guys.